Oh man, Rings of Power, episode 4, everyone.
4.
Holy guacamole. So, what are your guys' overall thoughts about this episode?
The show fucking sucks, bro.
10 out of
It's
10 best
so,
show I've ever seen.
at least Halo, you could watch it and laugh because you thought, because once we framed it as a porn parody, it got so much better as a show because it was like, oh my gosh, it's just a porn parody. I can't compare this to anything that makes it fun. It's just a bad show. At one point it's trying to like do a horror thing, and like Galadriel just gets worse.
And with what authority do you speak, Elf? That of your people? Or are you a castaway, grasping for a handhold in a tempest?
There is a tempest in me. It swept me to this island for a reason. And it will not be quelled by you, Regent.
A character straight up tells her, like, listen, stop being a bitch because you're awful. And she's like, I'm going to be even more awful. I'm going to be even more awful.
Even harder.
What's that supposed to mean?
You know what it means.
They throw her in a jail cell. Another character says, stop being a bitch because you're awful and you'll never get what you want. And she goes, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. I've never thought about that in the thousands of years I've existed. And then she becomes more of a bitch and then eventually gets what she wants from it.
Because she's right. That's the whole thing. People are like, oh, no, it's not. No, the show is telling you this is the way you should be. This is exactly how you should act because this is how you get your way. If you go through life just completely crapping on everyone you ever meet, it'll lead to a great quality life that will make you really happy and satisfied with your life. What got me, though, I always thought, with She-Hulk, I think it's designed to be a show that you have on when you're doing something else. So, like, if you're in the kitchen doing something and you've got a TV on the side, you're probably not watching it all the time. You're turning away doing other stuff. But it's kind of just there as background noise. This, like, I think that's how She-Hulk's designed, so it's not really meant to be taken seriously. This wants you to pay attention to it as if it's the best thing in the room.
Yeah.
But then nothing happens. So you've simultaneously got to focus on it, and then you regret ever watching the thing.
Yeah.
So, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
The worse it gets. It's so bad. There is straight up like a scene in this where, like, for people that haven't watched it, where a character, an elf, 2 elves are sitting at a table together, and the one elf goes, oh, I just remembered your dad said this thing to me years ago, said one day my life would be in your hands, the hands of his son. And he said it to me like we were talking about the weather. Crazy. And then 5 minutes later, a dwarf is telling the elf, he's like, man, dwarven anger is even stronger than elven memories.
Way of seeing far off. Do you know, I remember once he said to me, one day my future would be in his son's hands. He said it quite casually, as if one might speak of tomorrow's rain. You know, I'd forgotten that until this moment. Isn't that odd?
Mountain, you'll never breathe so much as a whisper of what I'm about to tell you to another living soul. Dwarven anger outlives even elven memory. Break your promise. And the power of this stone will doom you and your kin to sorrow to your last day on this Middle Earth.
Somebody wrote that into a script and didn't think, I just made an elf not remember something. That seems kind of important to remember. And then also talk about how strong elven memories are.
Yeah, the way they did that it was weird, but I think it was meant to be weird deliberately. Because he's like, oh, I've just remembered that out of nowhere. But he specifically said it was like foresight, so prediction of the future. And it was almost like, I'm pretty sure that's their idea of setup and payoff. So like in season 3 or season 5 or something, that'll be referring to a choice or a decision that goes on, and people on Twitter will be going, oh, they said that in season 1, it was amazing, and it's like, no, it was a terrible line when you put it in. And I love that scene because they're literally wearing the same clothes that they did in episode 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which means that I think that's just like a reshoot, surely, or they filmed them all in one
Right.
go and just cut it up
Well,
into different episodes.
When you showed like the comparison of like the 2 scenes next to each other on Twitter, like literally those look like they were shot in the same day at the same time. Like the lighting's the exact same, the costuming is the exact same, everything is literally the exact same. So I think they probably just like shot it all at the same time. I literally don't understand why all of these, like, you know, super important, powerful people are just walking around Middle Earth without any sort of escort or army or anything. Like, they're just like strolling around like Middle Earth is some sort of park in the backyard or something. It's so stupid.
Like, a good point is like they never changed their clothes. They're all like wearing the same outfits constantly,
and the costumes suck.
And like,
they're so bad.
It made sense in like Lord of the movies and stuff because you're like, hey, we don't have time to really change clothes because we're just constantly moving and like just nonstop, like trying to go get this stuff done. But they do change outfits eventually when they get a place where they can rest.
Yeah.
Here, nothing. They're just like, listen, man, this green, this green velvet tunic that I wear it all the time.
It's my favorite dress.
Yeah, it's implied. It's implied that this tower has been getting built. The amount of stuff done on it in this time in time, it has to have been months, if not years. But they're like, hey, wearing the same clothes that I wore 5 years ago, never changed.
I mean, I for one admire Celebrimbor as the fashion icon for pregnant women that he is.
And so, I mean, even it makes it even worse that the costumes are just terrible in this show as well. Like. You know, you have our Farazan walking around and he's like in like these, like the costumes. The thing about Lord of the Rings is that the costumes actually feel like they're actually like from that world. They're actually like lived in. It feels organic and authentic. The costumes in Rings of Power does not feel that way at all. When you watch like a stage production or something like that, and the costumes, you know, are just kind of like costumes that they just like kind of put together because it kind of gives you the idea of where they're at, but doesn't really convey any sort of like character depth to the world that they live in or anything like that. So
there's not really much style to a lot of it. It's just like cloth draped over you in different ways. Whereas you can go back throughout history, people did style clothing. Everyone didn't just drape cloth over them all the time. It's like, no, you know, the Romans did it. We'll just put that everywhere.
Right.
Like the only characters to me that feel like they actually have costuming and personality are the dwarves. Consistently, but even they are wearing the same clothes constantly. It's just whether or not they wear a cape over them or not. I mean, dude. I mean, once again, Durin was kind of the standout of this episode. It feels like this guy's like kind of carrying the whole show on his back, and even he's not doing a great job of it. He's just at least better than most people. You know,
I really liked his father as well. I like that scene. The issue that I have with those kind of scenes, because I like the bit before and where he's getting angry at his father, and then he goes to meet his father.
Give him time. Even the hottest coals eventually cool.
Well, sometimes I wish they wouldn't. Sometimes I wish I could tell him exactly what I think of him. I'll never trade words with the old goat again!
Forever am I with you, my son. Even in anger. Sometimes in anger most of all. There is nothing to forgive.
I like that whole section. My issue is that would be a good scene to have in a show where something's actually happening. Where, as it is, I'm just like, okay, this is also just another slow scene with nothing really happening among all of the other slow scenes. So even though I liked that, I didn't like it in combination with everything else, because I'm like, you just go and punch someone in the face, please. Just do something. Move the plot on in some way. We've been through 4 episodes. They haven't moved the plot on once. In fact, because we know where the plot's going. So it's not like they have to hide it.
Right.
The only thing that has moved the plot forward in any way, shape, or form at the moment, really, is they've started to build the forge.
Yeah.